Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. In this week's video, I want to tell you about an experience that was not what we expected, but really ended up being both fun and eye-opening, and is something that I think everyone should really experience when you're in Watkins Glen, New York, and that is Farm Sanctuary. So we went into this thinking that it was going to be a very casual, cozy, like petting farm type of experience, and it really ended up being something a lot more impactful and educational. And I came away with some very different perspectives on things that I was not expecting to have. And so today I want to tell you about our experience so you know what to expect, but also explain why it left such a strong impression on me. By the way, if this is your first time here, I'm Carrie, and I share helpful travel tips, itineraries, gear recommendations, and more, so you can always have the perfect trip. My goal with this video today is to lay out exactly what you can expect at Farm Sanctuary, so you can decide if this is a good fit for your itinerary, something you want to spend the money to go check out for yourself, and hopefully answer any questions you have about the experience. If that sounds like the kind of videos you want more of in your feed, be sure you also hit that subscribe button so you can see videos like this from me in the future. The main point of Farm Sanctuary is not to be a petting farm, but rather to be a safe place where animals that are rescued from the food and textile industries can live out the rest of their days in peace. All of the animals here have been rescued from factory farms, slaughterhouses, laboratories. Like, they all have these really sad stories, with the exception of a few animals that were born on site here. So they've been through a lot of trauma, and Farm Sanctuary literally is their sanctuary where they can recover from all that and just have like a happy life frolicking around on a farm. It's actually really sweet, but the whole visit is pretty eye-opening because they do tell you about the conditions that these creatures were rescued from. And personally, I had no idea that a lot of things were still this bad. I know that I'm not the only person out there who was completely in the dark about these kind of situations, and that's why the sanctuary's mission goes beyond just caring for these animals to educating visitors about ways that we can make better choices so that future animals don't have to go through these kind of conditions. So every visit to Farm Sanctuary includes a guided tour with a very knowledgeable guide who will take you around the farm and introduce you to all of the different animals. Our guide walked us through the sanctuary's history and how they rescue these animals, and we learned that it's not just about giving them a safe space, but also raising awareness of the issues that they faced in their previous lives. And a lot of it really is kind of heartbreaking. They have a policy where you do not approach the animals, they approach you. And that is because a lot of these animals have literally been traumatized, and so they want their safe space. Sometimes they are feeling extra friendly and they will come up to you and they want pets. We met a few very, very sweet goats who were rather open, but like none of the sheep wanted to come see us because their contact with humans touching them was usually very, very rough, and it resulted in them getting hurt. And so it is a lot different to hear that story while you're right there with the animals and seeing how they respond. I do think that was a lot more impactful and helps that message go a little further. Because the animals do have that free choice, which I think they have earned it, this was much less of a petting farm experience. Again, the animals approached us when they felt like it, which to an extent was almost even more rewarding because it's like, oh, they feel safe, like they can come see us even after what they've been through. But the whole thing was educational. Every enclosure that we visited, our guide told us about the animals in there. She told us stories for specific, goats and sheep and chickens, and a lot of them were really heartbreaking. Like finding out that a bunch of their chickens were scared to go outside for like a couple weeks when they got there because they didn't know what it was like to go outside. Like, that is really, really heartbreaking. Like I mentioned about the sheep, like just seeing them come out of their shell at all to come and, visit us and let us pet them was all the more rewarding. But as much as I would have loved to have pet all of them, I really wanted to hug some of the little pigs and things like that. Like, I feel like the educational value was more valuable than just going to like a normal petting farm. I also think that knowing all of these backstories really helped emphasize the importance of places like Farm Sanctuary. Obviously, they can't rescue every animal, and obviously, like, I'm not a vegetarian, I'm not a vegan, so people do need to eat. Um, but there are ways we can do that without making animals suffer. And I think that's really important. And I'm kind of upset that I didn't realize prior to this that things are still that bad. That they are maiming animals and keeping them in cages so small that they can't turn around and just breeding and breeding and breeding them. Like, there is a lot of cruelty that goes into this industry that just kind of gets swept under the rug. Even some of the stuff where it's cage free or whatever, they're still doing things that are harmful to the animals, and no one's talking about it. And that made me kind of angry, because I do think we have a responsibility to be kind to creatures and not cause unnecessary suffering. Like, that's just not a good human quality. And I think we don't like to think about it because it's not right in front of our faces. And it's so much easier just to accept, like, oh, well, they told me it's okay. So it's okay, but it's not. And I think we do have a responsibility to make sure that we're not causing that unnecessary cruelty. And there are practical steps that we can take, that the food industry can take to make sure that people still get the food that they need without making it as horrific as it currently is. That rant aside, I do want to make it clear this is still a fun experience, especially if you like cute farm animals. They have cows, they have pigs. I don't know if you've ever seen a pig eating grass. All I've ever seen them doing is rolling in the mud, but they're super cute, running around, grazing in the field. They have different chickens, lots of goats, sheep. Like, there's a great variety of cute farm animals here, and as long as they consent, you can pet them. I got some really good snuggles with a few of the goats, the cows. I've never pet a cow before. That was fun. Like, things like that. It was a great experience. We also went on this beautiful day. Like, it was the quintessential farm scene day. So it was a lot of fun. And again, despite that kind of dark overshadowing as we're learning about all these horrible things, it was still fun to spend some time engaging with these cute animals and getting at least a little bit of that petting farm experience. And to wrap up this video, I just want to dive into a few FAQs really quick so you know what to expect for your visit. First up, all tours are guided. After the guided portion, you will have free range to walk about the farm, but the initial portion will be with a guide so they can show you where you're allowed to go and tell you about the animals. And I believe we were there for about an hour and a half total. You can interact with the animals, but as I said, this isn't like a normal petting zoo. They choose whether or not they are going to interact with you. So as long as they approach you and are not acting scared, yes, you can pet them, you can love on them, but the main focus is more educational rather than just interacting with the animals. This is a farm, so I highly recommend closed-toed shoes. Sneakers are a good choice just because you will be doing quite a bit of walking. The hills aren't too bad, but you will be going up some hills on gravel driveways and also walking through some of the fields, so you never know what you might step in. So definitely wear closed-toed shoes and then weather-appropriate clothing. I definitely recommend wearing some sunscreen. You could also bring a camera if you wanted. However, just keep in mind, like, a goat may slobber on it or something. So you might just want to have your phone, but you cannot bring any food into the sanctuary. They will ask you to leave any edible stuff back by the gift shop. They said even if you have like a cough drop or a mint in your pocket, they will find it. So just make sure you leave any snacks and stuff behind so you don't tempt the animals and accidentally get them sick. There are some spaces where you can have like a little picnic, and they also have a vegan restaurant on site, a little cafe. But please keep in mind, this is a vegan space. So if you do bring some of your own food to enjoy outside of like the sanctuary, please be respectful of what you bring and do not bring animal products and byproducts. Just be conscientious about where you are and respect what they're working towards. Once again, our visit to Farm Sanctuary was not what we expected, but I think that was in the best way possible. It was emotional, educational, it gave us a lot to think about. So, if you're looking for an experience that's more than just like a fun day out, I think you should really check this out. Thank you so much for coming by to watch this video. I really appreciate it, and I hope that this helped answer the questions you might have had about Farm Sanctuary, what their mission is, and what kind of experience you will have there. If you do have any questions that I didn't answer, please feel free to drop those in the comment section below, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. As always, I also have a full written blog post about Farm Sanctuary on my website at cochranewriting.com under the Carried Away Travels blog. I'd encourage you to check that out or take a peek at some of the other adventures that we had in Watkins Glen, New York, or around the globe. Don't forget to like, save, and share this video with your friends, and subscribe to Carried Away Travels to make sure you're always up to date on the latest adventures and helpful travel tips. Thanks for stopping by, and happy travels!